Neon drizzle turns Nashville's famous strip into a bruise-colored mirror, and every droplet seems to whisper that country glory was never just fiddles and Sunday morals. Backstage alleys wind behind the Opry like veins, carrying whispered payoffs, hush-money envelopes, and demo tapes that never saw daylight. Club janitors tell stories of managers swapping briefcases while the band still hammered its encore, and of young hopefuls trading anonymity for a ride home that ended with a signature they would regret. Session guitarists recall padding their amps with newspaper to muffle arguments about who really wrote the hook that earned $1 million. Most of those newspapers listed yesterday's date, because in Music City the past gets recycled, reread, and then politely burned. One night, a well-known publicist was spotted dumping a shoebox of Polaroids into the Cumberland River. Insiders claim those snapshots showed a chart topper partying with a governor's son and a line of powdered temptation. The publicist walked away whistling, "I saw the light," like the waters hadn't just swallowed photographic dynamite. These half-seen transactions form the connective tissue between every headline you're hearing today. Proof that scandal isn't a side effect of stardom, it's the business model throttled down to street level. Tammy Wynette strides out first, mascara already streaked like fresh asphalt. In '78, she said faceless thugs yanked her from a mall parking lot, roughed her up, dumped her on the shoulder of the road. Headlines sobbed, fans prayed, but decades later her own daughter waved hospital photos and swore the story was cover paint for bruises dealt by husband-manager George Ritchie. Investigators dug up timeline gaps, doctors hinted at inconsistent injuries, and the legend of a staged kidnapping took root like kudzu in Tennessee clay. Loretta Lynn follows, swinging a battered guitar like it's both trophy and shield. Her marriage to Do looked homespun on album covers, yet her memoir punched harder than any lyric. Black eyes hidden behind pancake makeup, dishes hurled like clay pigeons, reconciliation staged on front porch rocking chairs while reporters waited in the driveway. They stayed married nearly 50 years. Proof love can overlap with violence until the two are knotted tighter than barbed wire. Tammy isn't finished. She returns as a tragic encore. When she was found lifeless in '98, the official line read, "heart failure." An autopsy request was weirdly skipped. Years later, new toxicology raised eyebrows, prescription cocktails stacked like mixing boards, dosage records scribbled in shaky pen. Her daughter sued Ritchie and the physicians, claiming negligence or worse. The case settled quietly, but the suspicion remains, humming like feedback no sound engineer can mute. If bruises were currency, Tanya Tucker earned a vault before Sweet 16. She met Glenn Campbell while most kids her age studied algebra. Glenn was mid-40s, grinning behind a Telecaster, and tabloids salivated when they confirmed the romance. Studio bosses recoiled, parents rioted, but Tanya doubled down on outlaw swagger. By 20, she bragged in interviews about ripping fat lines of coke between verses, headset mic still hot. Her memoir admits she treated onstage monitors like mirrored trays, the roar of the crowd drowning every sniff. Naomi Judds steps beneath the spotlight next, secrets rustling like satin. Early press kits called Wynonna her little sister, but small-town Kentucky gossips knew better. Wynonna was Naomi's out-of-wedlock daughter, conceived with a mystery man while Naomi still hunted nursing shifts and cheap motel rooms. Desperate to dodge choir loft judgment, she rewrote family roles, forging paperwork that labeled the newborn as sibling. For years, even label executives swallowed the lie until a tabloid unearthed the birth record and the family tree sprouted dynamite. Wynonna's later heartbreak mirrored her mother's twists. She married a bodyguard who soon drifted into her best friend's arms. Headlines screamed betrayal. Tour buses trembled with schadenfreude. Fans learned that Backstage passes sometimes double as wedding invitations for the uninvited. Barbara Mandrell's empire cues up next, all rhinestone glare and TV smiles. Behind the scenes, her father manager, Irby, negotiated with tactics so hard-nosed insiders called him country's godfather. Competing promoters claimed canceled bookings, intimidating late-night calls, mysteriously missing equipment. Nothing traceable, everything deniable, but industry veterans still whisper the Mandrell name like old soldiers describing classified missions. Reba McEntire strolls in wearing a grin sharp enough to slice a mic cable. Early in her rise, she supposedly blacklisted duet partner Linda Davis for outshining her on stage. Susie Boggess hinted Reba controlled spotlight angles with laser precision, threatening to yank tour slots if anyone stole a high note. Years later, Reba brushed it off as competition, but ex-crew members remember panicked stage managers repositioning follow spots the instant her red hair came into view. Dolly Parton once joked her figure got her more meetings than her voice, yet the loneliest room she ever entered was Colonel Tom Parker's office. Hoping Elvis would cut "I Will Always Love You," she entertained Parker's private negotiation complete with door locks and insinuations. She walked out intact but disturbed, later calling the proposals uncomfortable as a corset 2 sizes tight. Elvis never recorded the song, but Dolly kept the publishing and the uneasy memory. Years later, she revealed pastel ink tattoos covering surgical scars, proof she turns pain into palette. Linda Ronstadt floats in on an echo of mariachi horns. Legend says she dated powerful producers who greased the gears of her crossover. She never denied sharing candlelit dinners with gatekeepers, simply shrugged and said charm was another instrument in the arrangement. The result: platinum plaques that still scare dust off any wall they adorn. Crystal Gale enters shimmering hair down to her hips, but those floor-length locks were partly a leash. Record execs insisted she stay the virginal counterpoint to Loretta's gritty realism, preaching soft ballads while she begged to rock. When she threatened rebellion, marketers dangled tour budgets like ransom notes, and Crystal relented, until years later she finally cut a blues record, her sigh of relief audible even through low sales figures. KT Oslin had vocal grit that could sand oak, yet her label allegedly drafted a closet contract. Rumors swirled she loved women, a detail 89 radio programmers weren't ready to playlist. Insiders claim an ultimatum: hide your heart or lose your radio push. KT complied publicly, but late-night tour bus songwriting sessions carried coded love letters that younger artists now cite as liberation anthems. Kitty Wells appears like a chapel bell in a thunderstorm. When "It Wasn't God Who Made Honky Tonk Angels" hit, male DJs called it immoral. Some flatly refused airplay. Ironically, their boycott blasted her rebel cred sky high. The record still spins every time a woman in Nashville demands equal bar tab. Lori Morgan, dressed in heartbreak red, had a dating resume that overlapped suspicious accounting ledgers. 2 paramours faced embezzlement indictments after buying her diamond bracelets. FBI agents discreetly asked tour staff about cash deliveries disguised as merch money. Nothing stuck, but the pattern painted its own mural. Industry silence contracts get their own gruesome verse. Veteran journalists confirm at least half a dozen 80s stars signed NDAs after powerful producers crossed every boundary. The hush settlements came with 6-figure checks and threats that careers would vanish faster than a missed note on Grand Ole Opry night. One attorney smuggled a clause banning the word assault from future interviews. Victims were instructed to call the events misunderstandings. The paper trail exists, locked in filing cabinets thick as amp cases. We circle back to Tammy's circle of pills because prescriptions weren't the only pharmaceutical ghosts on the road. Tanya's coke-dusted monitors inspired younger peers to stash tour bus coffee tins of cannabis, uppers, downers, and everything sideways, until DEA agents raided a Florida festival and found a pharmacy worth of capsules behind a kick drum labeled "spare parts." While chaos raged, Barbara Mandrell's father upgraded intimidation. One promoter recalled finding his car tires slashed the morning after refusing a primetime TV slot to Barbara's sisters. No charges, yet the promoter quit Nashville and bought a bait shop in Alabama, citing air too thick with payback. Reba's orbit kept spinning sharp. During a 92 awards rehearsal, a stagehand says she demanded the teleprompter scroll slower for everyone else and normal speed for her lines. When the tech refused, he was reassigned to parking lot duty, and Reba's script glided by like silk. Dolly's pastel ink isn't country's only body secret. Linda Ronstadt reportedly bears a small desert rose tattoo above her hip, initialed with a producer's surname she later broke up with. Friends joke the rose became a cactus after the split, an inside burn no lyric could match. Crystal finally cutting loose inspired KT Oslin to slip a sly coming-out quip into a '96 concert. If you can't love who you want, at least write them a song that pays the rent. The crowd cheered, label execs cringed, but the merchandise table sold out in minutes. Kitty Wells watched the modern feuds and laughed, reminding newcomers her blacklist turned into a platinum border wall others couldn't scale. She autographed a boot heel with the words, "Angels keep receipts," then handed it to a starlet who'd just been told to diet or lose radio rotation. Lori Morgan's brushes with mafia rumors escalated when two of her boyfriends were photographed at a Vegas ringside seat beside known bookmakers. Lori insisted she thought they just loved boxing. Maybe they did, but one ended up indicted for laundering cash through a fried chicken franchise that never sold a leg. The Hush Money Chronicles reached a climax when a leak revealed an '80s star received lifetime royalties from a songwriter's catalog in exchange for silence. Accountants couldn't fathom why a ballad about tractors was paying someone who never set foot in a cornfield until a private investigator connected the dots between Studio C security footage and hurried midnight contracts. June Carter Cash drifts into the smoky room with that trademark lightning-bright smile. Yet insiders swear she spent years pocketing evidence of Johnny's midnight wanderings like so many hotel keycards. Roadies recall June intercepting perfume-scented notes slipped under bus doors, crumpling them quietly, then straightening her shoulders before stepping on stage for another duet about devotion. One letter later surfaced at auction, edges singed by cigarette cherry, asking Johnny if he remembered the elevator in Spokane. June bought it back anonymously and burned it outright, deciding peace trumped proof. Patsy Cline bursts through next, laugh ringing like a shot glass toast. Wholesome image? Not according to sidemen who watched her trade smoky bar waltzes for back-of-bus rendezvous with steel guitar cowboys wearing fresh rings. Biographer Ellis Nassur listed 2 married men by name. Their widows threatened lawsuits, then quietly settled. Patsy's tour schedule read like a lover's treasure map. Houston for the rancher with oil money, Chicago for the drummer who tuned her heartbeats. She'd kiss her sleeping kids goodbye, then drive overnight to rent new heartache by the hour. The spotlight flickers and Jessica Andrews steps forward, voice still honey-sweet after years off radar. Her breakout smash Who I Am should have launched a dynasty, but label bosses allegedly pushed wardrobe over artistry, demanding she sell more sparkle, less soul. When Jessica publicly vented about being treated like window dressing, executives iced marketing budgets overnight. Radio programmers got cryptic memos. Tour offers vaporized. Within a year, she was back home nursing panic attacks and scribbling hooks nobody would fund, proof that truth-telling still carries a cover charge. Those fragile egos financed the hush money machine too. Attorneys describe meetings where terrified young singers slid non-disclosure agreements across polished tables while A-list producers waited outside, humming chart toppers like victory anthems. One contract included a clause offering points on future greatest hits packages in exchange for permanent amnesia. The star agreed, but friends noticed her backstage passes always read only first name, as if anonymity were part of the payout. And if you think the saga ends when the spotlight dims, consider the royalty statements shortchanging women who wrote choruses stadiums scream. Accounting departments cite clerical error, but a leaked memo from '94 shows a deliberate cap on female songwriter bonuses, the margin circled in red ink, beside the note, "Keep them happy, not rich." That year, a pair of hitmakers confronted the label, only to be offered a tour bus upgrade instead of back pay. They took the bus and later penned a revenge anthem that won Song of the Year despite zero radio promotion. Meanwhile, a collective of background vocalists secretly funded a legal co-op, pooling gig cash in coffee cans labeled emergency key. When the statute of limitations tolled, they filed suit and won enough to buy a recording studio, where sessions now run on transparent contracts displayed like set lists for all to read. In the lobby hangs a broken guitar pick encased in glass, rumored to be the one Dolly snapped in half the moment she refused Colonel Parker's bargain. The message to newcomers is clear: learn your history, tune your own guitar, and count every penny twice before the night swallows your receipts. Hard lessons echo longer than any glossy radio commercial. Truly, zoom out and the pattern is plain as a rhinestone highway. Violence disguised as passion, silence purchased like prime real estate, image sculpted until the sculptor's fingerprints become the only art left. Yet every scar, every gag order, leaves a ripple in the music. Listen close to Loretta's Fist City, to Reba's Fire Breather finales. Hear the crackle? That's lived experience pressing into vinyl even after the needle lifts. Dolly's pastel tattoos deserve one last close-up. She hints they bloom over surgery scars, tiny butterflies and lacy vines she inked to reclaim skin the scalpel tried to bully. One confidant swears there's a miniature Ozark cabin inked near her shoulder blade, roofline aligned exactly with a spinal incision. Scars need decoration, Dolly quipped, so they quit feeling like warnings and start feeling like map legends. Her encounter with Colonel Parker grows murkier in each retelling. Some say Dolly considered his proposition, calculating the trade-off between personal dignity and Elvis belting her lyrics into orbit. Ultimately, she chose to keep the song, proving sometimes the most valuable publishing deal is the one you rip in half before signing. Johnny Cash isn't here to defend his wanderings, but June's resilience echoes in every modern spouse who chooses public smile over private detonation. Tanya's candor about powdered courage shakes loose stigma for rookies in recovery. KT's coded anthems serve as road flares, guiding listeners to hidden identities they're finally allowed to own. Even Hush contract survivors contribute. Their silence became thunder once fans learned to read the gaps in their discographies. The bartender wipes a glass, muttering that neon tells no lies. It simply illuminates whichever corner you aim it toward. Aim it at Laurie's Vegas seats and you catch mob gold glinting. Aim it at Barbara's touring paperwork and the ink smells faintly of fear. Swing it toward Crystal's discarded demo reels and you'll find electric guitar snarls stifled under layers of orchestral fluff. And if you dare sweep the beam across those NDAs, you'll see paper that looks harmless until you realize each signature is a throat cleared of song. One lawyer keeps a collection, anonymized, redacted, but paraded during university lectures. He flicks through pages and calls them verses paid not to rhyme. When dawn creeps in and the street sweeper gobbles last night's confession napkins, remember the math. 20 scandals verified, multiplied by countless echoes from every interview they never gave. The canon of country music doesn't sit still. It shifts, unsettled, every time new truth thuds onto the timeline and rearranges the beat. So cue another replay because hearing the hits you love after tonight will feel like running fingertips over Braille. Sudden bumps where you expected smoothness. Hidden stories you can now translate. And if the next rumor you overhear feels too wild, ask yourself how many times we've stood exactly here, disbelieving before fact tapped us on the shoulder holding a police report. Hit subscribe like you're slamming a bar door against a storm, smash that like button the way Reba crushed any challenger, and tell us below which legend's rumored verse you're ready to investigate next. The jukebox still has room for secrets. You just need a pocket full of quarters and an ear brave enough to listen. Because somewhere, even now, a fresh-pressed tour laminate is sliding over another hidden bruise, and the melody we'll hum tomorrow knows the price of turning truth into harmony for all to hear. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.